Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is your brother and friend Mohamed Selim giving you a warm welcome back to my show, The Rope of Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I welcome you back to my second radio show, and we begin by praising Allah. Inna alhamdulillah, nahmiduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh, and seeking His protection. Wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina, and by sending blessings on our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So first of all, I'd like to thank you all for joining me again. If you're following on from last week's session, I hope you took some benefit from it. And if you're joining me for the first time today, welcome, and thank you for your attention. I'm going to be very honest with you today. I am broadcasting to you today very emotional and very raw of a life-changing experience which I just experienced. And I arrived. I was on a charity deployment in Lebanon. Visiting some Syrian refugee camps, and we just left today at midnight, and I arrived today at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'm very kind of fresh off of the experience, and it's just unbelievable. I want to thank the charity Human Relief Foundation for the deployment and all their hard work. And I'll just say to the people, and including myself, before anyone, just inshallah wa ta'ala, may we be grateful for everything we have. These are people with very little, some of them orphans. They had very little in terms of material possessions. Their living conditions were not the best. So just be grateful and say alhamdulillah for everything that we have, and for your parents. I advise any of the youth listening that if you've disrespected your parents recently, to go and give them a sincere apology, and to hold them tight and give them your love and your apologies. And inshallah, we won't go too far into that, because I would not have enough time to unpack all the lesson and all the amazing things which I've learned and saw. So we'll get into today's halaqah, which is talk 2, the worldly benefits of Iman. So today I want to look at what are the benefits of ibadah, of worship, in the dunya. And this is because we often think of religion as something that doesn't really help us in this world. We just see it as maybe a chore or something that we do for some long-term abstract benefit, when in reality deen and religion is everything that keeps you going in this world and gives you a good dunya as well as a good akhirah. It teaches you to be a human with good character, of course, following on from our Prophet ﷺ. It teaches you how to have the utmost character. It teaches how to deal fairly in your dealings, in your trade, in your... Let me just turn my full screen on. It teaches you to deal fairly in your day-to-day interactions. It teaches you to be good to others. It teaches you how to self-reflect and work on your shortcomings. And inshallah ta'ala, we will unpack some of these benefits today. We will start with looking at a verse from Surah Al-Ra'd, which is Surah number 13, and this is verse 28. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الذين آمنوا وتطمئن قلوبهم بذكر الله ألا بذكر الله تطمئن القلوب. So this is a verse, this is a verse looking at the believers, following on from a verse talking about the believers. And it says, these believers, as we mentioned last week, what does it mean to be a believer, what does it mean to have, to be a Muslim, to have the Islamic identity. And it tails off from that an ayah, and it tells you those who believe and whose hearts are reassured by the remembrance of Allah, those are the believers. أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبِ. Unquestionably, by the remembrance of Allah, our hearts are assured. And this is a very profound ayah, because we are riddled in a time of, I'm not sure if this is the correct word, discontentment, dissatisfaction. Everyone is so unhappy with what they have. Everybody compares themselves to other people. Everyone's kind of living in a constant cycle of turmoil and anxiety and distraction. And this ayah really brings some clarity onto that point by telling us unquestionably, in the remembrance of Allah do the hearts find peace and are assured. And let's tackle this general notion about religion that is very restrictive. And that's one of the first things that people think of religion and brings a dislike to them about their religion is they say, I can't do this, I can't do that, this is forbidden, that is forbidden, and they see that their lives are being restricted. However, when we look at the things that we are restricted from, alcohol, gambling, illicit sexual relations, these are all things which are absolutely tearing members of our society apart these days, and absolutely ruining society and ruining people and ruining souls. So when Allah Ta'ala tells us in the Quran through one of his messengers, do not do this, this is forbidden upon you, don't look at it as if, oh, I'm not allowed to do this, I'm not allowed to do that. Look at it in the sense of Allah Almighty, the All-Wise, with his infinite knowledge, has seen and knows the effects and the disasters and the damages that such things cause us, and he wants us to stay away from them so that we do not fall into the error, and we can just kind of have a clean run from the beginning, which of course is very unlikely. But let's not look at it as, I can't do this, I can't do that. Look at it as a rahmah, a complete mercy, that we have been warned and told about these bad things from the beginning. And let's incorporate the Islamic principle that that wise people learn from the mistakes of other people. We don't fall head first into the same mistakes that others made. Like if you remember the parable of Isa, Jesus alayhi salam, from last week's episode, he was mustajab, he was a bit confused, he was wondering, like, how are people seeing the things that this dunya does to people and still desiring it? So let us be, inshallah, people of knowledge and people of good vision and foresightedness, that we can see potholes and try to avoid them, inshallah. And it's as simple as this, yani worship really does improve your daily life, so much so that the Rasul Muhammad in a hadith, he tells us, he who remembers Allah and he who does not remember him are like the living and the dead. Subhanallah. And this is because ibadah has a direct cleansing effect on our hearts, which of course affects the rest of the body. There's another hadith on which I don't know it word for word, so I will paraphrase. Uh, when Rasulullah was telling us about the organ of the heart, and he tells us this is the organ that which when it is unclean or in pain, the rest of the body is unclean and in pain. And when it is pure, the rest of the body is pure and functioning correctly. So he who remembers Allah and he who does not remember Allah are like the living and the dead. So this shows you just how deeply and how clearly the Prophet ﷺ understood and was trying to translate how much ibadah is important, is a central part of our lives. It's not just something that we do on the side, like I'm a human being and I just happen to pray a few prayers a day hoping I'm going to get a reward in the future. No, ibadah is something you shape your life around, and you incorporate in your life, and you try and breathe, sleep, eat Islam, breathe, sleep, eat the Sunnah, and really make it a lifestyle, not just something you sprinkle a bit in here and there. And forgive me, actually, I do have the quote of the Prophet ﷺ, who tells us, verily in the body is a piece of flesh which is sound, the entire body is sound, and if it's corrupt, the entire body is corrupt. Truly this is the heart. So let us look at 5, inshallah ta'ala, worldly benefits that come from the purification of our hearts through ibadah. And number 1, and these 5, we could go on forever, but these 5 are short and concise, and inshallah may be of benefit to anyone listening out there. Number 1, massive perk, massive benefit, the safety and guidance in worldly affairs. How many people do we see going through life and it just seems like they're hit by one calamity after another, and they just can't seem to get it right in the world, and they just can't seem to get any positive direction in the world. But the Muslim is different. The Quran tells us, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَمْ يَلْبِسُوا إِيمَانَهُمْ بِظُلْمٍ أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمُ الْأَمْنُ وَهُمْ مُهْتَدُونَ. So those who have faith and do not mix their faith with idolatry, in this case dhulm means the big dhulm, the shirk. Those who have faith and do not mix their faith with idolatry, they are those who will be secure, and it says they who are rightly guided. So through your ibadah, through your dua, through your seeking refuge in Allah, you will have safety and you will have correct guidance in your life. We see so many paths leading to misguidance in the dunya these days. People telling you all sorts of ideologies and all sorts of things. But if you really hold on to the rope of Allah and you try and stay firm with your ibadah, you will see the straight path and you will be rightly guided, and you will, inshallah ta'ala, have safety in all your worldly affairs. Just a quick warning in advance, we have Asr Adhan, inshallah, in 5 minutes. And number 2, very important, very beautiful. The mu'min, the believer, will have al-hayatul tayyibah, will have good, content, happy lives. The Quran tells us, من عمل صالحا من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن فَلَنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. So those who do good deeds and believe from the min dhakarin wa untha, from males and females, فَلَنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. We will cause him to live a kind, gentle, easy, content life. And this is true contentment, the serenity of the heart. How many times do you see celebrities who have everything in terms of dunya? They have fame, they have status, they have money, but their hearts are not content, and they suffer a lot in the dunya despite their worldly possessions. So do not fall into the trap of thinking that the greatest gain in this world is material. Another parable by Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, he tells us, the lover of worldly things is like a man drinking sea water. The more he drinks, the more thirsty he gets, until at last he perishes with his thirst still unquenched. Allahumma hafazna Rabb. So do not think and do not fall into the trap of so many others like ourselves that thinking happiness lies in things or materials of other people or in relationships. We seek happiness through all these avenues. We think, if I find this woman in my life, if I find this job in my life, if I find this car in my life, I'll be happy. But no, it tells us the haqq, the truth. It tells us here, you do good deeds with iman in your heart, and Rabbina will breathe life into you, and He will flood your life with barakah and blessings, and you will live a content life. And I would like to narrate a short story, inshallah, before the Asr Adhan, of two men who lived during at some point after the Prophet ﷺ. I'm not sure if it was Sahaba, I'm not too sure, but that's not the point of the story. So there are two men, great men of knowledge, men of Islam, men of Deen, and they are eating bread, simple meal. They don't have stew, they don't have meat, they don't have luxury banquets, they don't have cases of wine, they don't have any of this. They're eating their breads, and they are dipping their bread in the ocean for some sort of softness and for some sort of flavoring. And this shows you the level of worldly possessions that they had. For a man to be doing this type of thing to try and get some flavor and variety in his food, it shows you that he's probably not they are probably not the most well off. I will mute the phone, inshallah, when asked that then goes off. But this shows you that they're not the most well off people in terms of dunya. But one of them, he turned to the other and he said, Wallahi, if the kings and the sons of the kings knew the serenity and the bliss in our hearts and our quality of life, they would come out with their swords to come and take it from us. SubhanAllah. So does this show you the value of a sound heart and a serene heart and iman? Look at this narration. The weight of a good life, of a hayatun tayyibah, which is promised to the Muslimin and the mu'mineen who believe in Allah and do righteous deeds. Look at the value that holds. So don't ever think your acts of worship or anything like that will not benefit you in terms of your own day-to-day happiness. It will bring and reap immense benefits. And inshallah ta'ala, we will carry on after the Asr Adhan. Thank you very much, and make your wudu. وتقبل الله منا ومنكم إن شاء الله.
This Adhan is sponsored by Muslim Global Relief.
Where there is extreme poverty, there are always orphaned and abandoned children. Every 2.2 seconds, a child loses a parent somewhere in the world. There are over 200 million orphaned children worldwide. Muslim Global Relief provides education to help orphaned children develop the skills they need, making positive changes in their life and breaking them free from poverty. Awarded the UK's Best Muslim Charity of the Year. Make a 100% zakat donation. Visit muslimglobalrelief.org.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala salah. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته.
O Allah, owner of this perfect call and owner of this prayer to be performed, bestow upon Muhammad, peace be upon him, a high rank and a high station, and send him upon a praised platform in paradise. Verily, you never fail in your promise.
Ramadan, Ramadan, Ramadan.
Ramadan Mubarak from Adam Accounting Services.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Need help with your accounts and tax work?
Contact us today on 01908 692 380 and see how we can help.
Adam Accounting Services, friendly local accountants. Call us today on 01908 692 380.
Awarded the UK's Best Muslim Charity of the Year. Muslim Global Relief, bringing hope to life for 20 years in over 40 countries around the world. Every water pump you helped to install, every needy person you helped to feed, every orphan child that you sent to school has a powerful impact on people's lives. Let us continue to make change. Make a 100% zakat donation today. Visit muslimglobalrelief.org.
Waffles, crepes, cookie dough, ice cream, just what you need after a long day of fasting. Dessert Island is open until 1 a.m. during Ramadan, 7 days a week. And there is free parking at the rear. Come and see us at 116 to 118 Queensway, Bletchley. We can even deliver. Just visit dessert-island.co.uk or download the app.
For a list of all our sponsors, please visit ramadanfm.com.
Ramadan, Ramadan, Ramadan.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for joining me back. We will continue where we left off, inshallah. So I hope that narration kind of showed you the real value of the serenity that the heart finds in ibadah and the good life that is granted to the Muslim who believes and does righteous deeds. And we will move on to the third benefit, which is quite plain and simple, that Allah is the protector of al-mu'min. Allah is the protector of al-mu'minun. Inna Allah yuhafidhu 'anil ladina amanu. Indeed, Allah protects those who believe. And I don't know about you, but this brings me an immense relief, and it's kind of an undescribable feeling that Allah Ta'ala, the most mighty, Al-Jabbar, Al-Mutakabbir, Al-Aziz, all these, subhanallah, attributes are truly formidable, unstoppable, unparalleled, unrivaled force in this world. And we are being told here that He is our protector. He will be our wali, our protector in the dunya. And that, to me, that is an amazing benefit. And I don't see how anyone couldn't agree, if I'm honest. And there was a period where I noticed this when I was reading in the Quran. In Surah Al-Anfal, there was some verses revealed regarding the Battle of Badr. And I've never seen it put so clearly and so to the point. But we are told, so Allah is stating to the people of Quraysh after the battle that they should give up on fighting the Muslims, they should give up on seeking victory and seeking to have a negative effect on the Muslims. And why? Because very simply, the end of the ayah tells us, وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Simple as that. Allah is commanding Quraysh to, you might as well stop your efforts. You will never get the victory above the Muslims. Why? Simply because I am their protector and simply because I say so. So having Allah as that protector and being on His good side and being on His side is an unreplaceable benefit, and it really brings peace and tranquility to the mu'min in their life. Because if you are sure that you are trying to propel yourself in the right direction, if you're trying to turn your face towards Allah, then the calamities of the dunya and the small things that touch you, the small harms that touch you, you start to be more resilient, and you start to think, okay, and if Allah is my protector and He's my guardian and He's the one planning all my affairs for me, then there must be some good at the end of this. There must be some reasoning behind this, and you can see how this then could lead to better mental health, better preparedness in life, less likely to fall into despair and agony and mental illness. So truly a beautiful benefit of Iman. And do we not see how much of a relief it is? And whenever we hear it in the Quran or in the dua, when we are told, ألا إن أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون الذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون. So verily, surely, is it not that the people who are the allies of Allah, if He is our protector, then we are His allies. Is it not that the allies of the believer, لا خوف عليهم, there will be no fear upon them, meaning in the dunya, ولا هم يحزنون, and they will not grieve, meaning in the hereafter. So it's put it This ayah puts it very beautifully, very simply, and it's a win-win. You take Allah as your protector, you take Allah as your wali, and you will be blessed in your dunya. You will not have fear and anxiety in your dunya, neither will you grieve or be disappointed in your akhirah, inshallah. Fourthly, the shaitan has no power over you. And this is every point that I'm going through, I'm saying this is an amazing point, this is an amazing point. Because truly, like, especially all the young people listening along, these are the answers to all our questions. These are the answers to all our issues. And if you really take a back seat and you look, okay, what is wrong with our lives? Why is the ummah straying in certain directions, and why are we seeing certain trends pop up and certain attitudes pop up in the youth? It is exactly because of these reasons. Because people have become so weak to the whisperings of the shaitan. Allah is not their protector. They decrease their levels of worship and their levels of good deeds. So that safety and that protection from Allah, it begins to fade from their life, and they don't see the imminence and the presence of Allah in their life. What else have we mentioned? Hayatul Tayyiba, the calm, the good, the content life. Again, we're anxious, we're worried. This is why we go out and we do crazy things, and this is why we see an increase in activities and violences and people doing things to try and fill that gap in their heart. So you see, when we abandon these beautiful principles and these beautiful benefits, our lives which become a lot more difficult. So we will carry on to the fourth point, which, as I mentioned, the shaitan has no power over you. And I would like to think that a person is free when he can do whatever he wants. And this is the message that modern capitalism is trying to bombard us with. Everything is right here, right now, fast food, fast delivery, fast content on social media. Everything's quick, on to the next. And we think that when we can dip our hands into all these reservoirs and into all these facets of life, that will be content and that will truly free. I can do whatever I want, I can say whatever I want. But my dear brothers and sisters, this is not freedom. We have to understand, when a human is constantly in the throes of his own desires, do this, oh do that, oh go watch this, go do that, go, oh you're hungry, go eat this. They're floating around like a crisp packet in the wind. So when a man is constantly in the throes of his own desires as a result of the whisperings of his own self and the whisperings of the devil, he is not free. These people, they claim to be free, yet they cannot control themselves from gluttony in the presence of food. They can't resist food, they can't resist overeating. And they cannot control themselves from illicit sexual relations when the opportunity presents itself. So that is one freedom. If you're listening on the radio show, I'm using parentheses, fake speech marks. That is one definition of free. However, the other definition of free is the one who is free, who makes a conscious decision to contain himself and restrict himself. That is true freedom. When a situation of temptation arises and one remains God conscious, one makes the conscious decision to remember God and remain steadfast and control his actions. This is true freedom, and this is a great benefit of Iman in this life. So when you see the two opposites, the two sides, and using your logic and your rationale, which we've, alhamdulillah, we've been blessed with as human beings, the ability to analyze and to reflect, which we really need to use more often, which one really sounds like freedom? When someone can sit back and relax and be happy and content when he is faced with all sorts, or he who is being dragged from one side to the other, not knowing what he's going to do next, what he wants next, what his body's going to tell him to do next. He is not in control. His own body's in control. You have lowly desires, which, if anyone out there is interested in psychology or anything like that, it's called our id, which is it's a nafs al-ammara. The Quran tells us, "Inna an-nafs ammaratun bis-su." We have a part of our being which commands us to do evil. So is he who follows this lower being and lower self free, or is it he who incorporates his super ego, his higher self, and can sit back and resist himself, truly free? And I think it's clear to see that it's the latter. And in the Quran we are told, is he who forgive me, I'm not sure if it was the Quran, but I will relate the narration to you. I heard it. Is he who is a single person and a slave of many things and many beings, equal to he who is servant of only one being, and that being is Allah Ta'ala. So let us not be slaves to our desires and slaves to mega companies and their advertising, and let us not be slaves to trends and online shenanigans, but let us be slaves only to Allah, who will provide you all the true guidance and all the rizq, all the provision that you need in the dunya. And now moving on to the fifth benefit, we have al-ukhuwatu sadiqa and al-ittihad, meaning true brotherhood and sisterhood, and ittihad, which is unity. And you'll see in the present day how much you'll see how much people are separated in terms of ideology, in terms of desires and interests. No one has each other's best interest in mind. You see the increase in discrimination against other people, the increase in discrimination against different races, different genders. And even in my time in Lebanon, I was even told that the Syrians who were trying to reintegrate back into Lebanese society, they were shunned and looked down upon and discriminated because they were Syrian. And does this sound like something at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, or something that the Prophet ﷺ would condone? Or could you ever see him doing such animalistic and hateful acts? No, that's because he had Iman. And one of the benefits of Iman is true brotherhood and sisterhood. إِنَّ الْمُؤْمِنُ لِلْمُؤْمِنِ كَالْبُنْيَانِ يَشُدُّ بَعْضُهُ بَعْضًا. Indeed, a Muslim and a Muslim are like a building. They pull together, they pull each other together and strengthen each other. And of course, إِنَّ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةً. Indeed, all Muslims, إِنَّ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, indeed the Muslims are brothers, our brotherhood, our sisters, our sisterhood. And this is, I want you to try and imagine if the world had more unity and more cooperation and more empathy and more a greater feeling of brotherhood and sisterhood and duty to one another, do you not think that the world would be a much better place? So all we have to do is look at our lives and look at not only the big scale of worldly politics and worldly affairs, but our own lives. As Iman decreases and worship decreases, ibadah decreases, you lose that benefit of really being pinned together with great people, whether black, whether Asian, whether alien, whether yellow, whether green, whether whatever. We all come together under the banner of Islam. We all come together with La ilaha illallah in our tongues. And we all come together knowing that we are all human beings who are trying our best to do the best that we can in terms of pleasing Allah and doing what is just and doing what is right. And these are the foundations of a good, functioning, prosperous society. Not distrust, not backbiting and competition and trying to secretly knock down your brother's building and in order to make yours look better or something such as that. But no, the benefit of that iman and then that and the doing of good deeds includes the right of your brethren and the right of your sister, that your acts, they encompass everyone and they encompass the society. And this again is the fifth and final benefit I'll be mentioning. And inshallah I'll finish off. We have, let me just check, we have just under 15 minutes remaining, and I'll finish with a short narration. As now that we know the benefits of Iman, let us look inshallah ta'ala at what it really is. What really is Iman? What does it look like? And how does it manifest itself in an example? Okay. First of all, we have to understand that Iman isn't something cheap which we just claim or say, or a beard that we grow out, or a garment that we wear. It's not only that, of course, that's part of it, but that means nothing when the heart is not in line with the intention and the brain, and you have some knowledge that you know what you're doing these acts for is not for the sake of Allah, and then it becomes really messy. So first of all, inshallah, may our intentions be pure. And Iman is said to be something that settles itself in our hearts and then verifies itself through our actions and manifests on our limbs. So let's inshallah break that down. So as we said, the heart is the main spiritual center of the being. It is the main spiritual organ, and that is where Iman lies. That is where Iman sits, and that is where Iman settles in the believer. And that means that the believer has, when I say it settles in the heart, that means that the believer is thinking good thoughts. The believer is thinking good thoughts of Allah. The believer is thinking good thoughts of creation. The believer is in constant remembrance of Allah. The believer is in constant remembrance of the benefits that Allah has bestowed upon him. And the believer is in awe of the creation of Allah. إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا. So the believer, he remembers Allah when he is stood, and when he is sat down, and when he is resting on his side. And he says, and they think in the creation of the heavens and the earth, oh Allah, you have not created this for no reason. So this is what Iman begins to look like and begins to sound like. And then with all these concepts in your mind and in your heart, it then verifies itself through our actions. So when you start believing that, and you have gratitude for Allah, and you start learning about His teachings and His guidelines, and you start reading and gaining knowledge and seeing the way that the Prophet ﷺ used to treat people, then these principles are manifested on your actions. You will, with this knowledge of, especially with the knowledge that everything you do, everything you say is written, then you will start to be very cautious with your acts, and you will start doing good deeds, more good deeds, and you will start trying to hold yourself back more from evil deeds. And this is how you know Iman is the action is what shows you that Iman, the action is what verifies that Iman. And then, of course, it manifests on our limbs, meaning more or less the same thing. We go out there and we do good things, and we go out into the world and produce benefit and with our own two hands. And we go and we walk, we use our feet, we use our legs to go and do good, and we use our hands to build and to write and to do good, and we use the vessel that Allah has given us for His benefit. And we will look at a short comparison from the Quran, inshallah, where Allah makes it very clear and simple. He gives us a situation that we can use to differentiate, okay, who really are the people who believe. And of course, I've been talked about Iman and its benefits. Okay, really, who are these people who are of Iman and of belief and Ibadah and worship? And in this situation, in this area, Allah gives us the situation of when Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam provide a ruling on a matter, give their judgment, give their decree on a matter, and says, this is that, this is the answer, this is a solid decision. How do the two parties act? How do those with Iman in their hearts act? And how do those without considering Iman and considering Allah in their hearts act? Here we go. Allah tells us, إنما كان قول المؤمنين إذا دعوا إلى الله ورسوله ليحكم بينهم إن يقولوا سمعنا وأطعنا وأولئك هم المفلحون. So, translation, the statement of the believers, if they are called unto Allah and His Messenger to judge between them, and Allah and His Messenger ﷺ give a judgment on this matter, it is only that they say, we hear and we obey. سمعنا وأطعنا وأولئك هم المفلحون. And these are the successful people. Now let us look at the other party. وَيَقُولُونَ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالرَّسُولِ وَأَطَعْنَا. They say, we believe in Allah and His Messenger and we obey. ثُمَّ يَتَوَلَّى فَرِيقٌ مِّنْهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ. Then after this claim, remember we said Iman is claims are cheap, claims are nothing. So after this claim, a group of them turned away, a group of them turned their backs. وَأُولَٰئِكَ وَمَا أُولَٰئِكَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And these are not the believers. وَإِذَا دُعُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ لِيَحْكُمَ بَيْنَهُمْ إِذَا فَرِيقٌ مِّنْهُمْ مُعْرِضُونَ. And when they are called to Allah and His Messenger, that they may judge a dispute among them, a fraction of them turns away. So let us be people, inshallah, of ta'ah, min ahlul ta'ah, people of obedience and people of sami'na wa ata'na, when we hear and when we gain knowledge of the rulings and the teachings of the Prophet and our deen, inshallah, that we are people who have the taqwa and the iman to say, okay, I believe in this, I believe from the source that has come, I believe that I will have these benefits in my life, so I will take it and I will not question it. And inshallah, I pray that Allah protects us from being people who turn their backs when we hear a ruling on a matter that we turn away and say سمعنا وأطعنا, we hear and we disobey. And I came across an ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah which says أم تريدون أن تسألوا رسولكم كما سئل موسى من قبل. Do you wish to question and harangue your Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, just as Musa was questioned and harangued by his people in the past, his ummah, when they were told to, I couldn't even tell you the amount of times that they were told, they were given a judgment on a matter, and they started questioning, do you take us for a joke? When they were told to slaughter a cow, the Baqarah, they questioned Musa. When they were told to do this, they questioned Musa, and there was not a single thing that they were told to do, but that they questioned it. وَمَنْ يَتَبَدَّلِ الْكُفْرَ بِالْإِيمَانِ فَقَدْ ضَلَّ سَوَاءَ السَّبِيلِ. And he who exchanges his iman for kufr, for disbelief and misguidance, he has strayed the worst of paths. So may Allah protect us and make us not and not make us treat our Prophet ﷺ, us as an ummah, treat our Prophet ﷺ as Musa was treated, and may we not question every detail and every small questions, and may we have pure and blind faith in Allah and His Messenger. So inshallah we'll be able to incorporate, next time you think maybe, okay, my desire isn't aligned with this teaching, if we can inshallah try and break our will and bend that and say, I'm going to give it a try, I'm going to have faith in my Prophet and his teachings and what Allah sent down with him, then maybe inshallah try and incorporate that bit by bit, one occasion at a time in our lives, and we will see the benefits of that. And may we not be people who swap our iman, swap our guidance and the gift and the nur, the light that we have been sent down with, for kufr and disbelief and misguidance. For indeed this would be the word. This will be the era of straying down the worst of misguided paths. So may Allah protect us. We have a few minutes remaining, about 2 minutes, and we'll just finish off by saying, may Allah make us people Ahlul Ta'ah, people of obedience, who have this yaqeen, who have this certainty, which enables us to stay steadfast and follow and obey the teachings of our Prophet ﷺ. And may he make us people who reap the benefits and see the benefits. And please, I hope that you took something away from this talk today, and that we may increase our iman in order to see some of these benefits in our lives, inshallah ta'ala. So now that we have about 1 minute left, I'll just brief you shortly on the trip that I had made last week. So we went out as a group of people from different kind of Islamic societies, from different universities. We all raised as much money as we could. Alhamdulillah, we ended up raising, I believe, over £100,000. And this money was used to buy food packages, and fuel and other resources. And we actually managed to provide, which is very rare on these sort of missions, we managed to provide fresh chicken and fresh meat, which these people said of up to years that they haven't experienced and they haven't tasted. So alhamdulillah, I've been granted an amazing opportunity, and it was truly eye-opening. And inshallah, if anyone has any queries about this or wants to get involved in any charity work, please do get in touch via WhatsApp. I'll put the number, I think you can see it up here. And thank you again for joining me, and I will be with you next week inshallah ta'ala. Inshallah, you make the most of Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum.